Hi everyone, and welcome to part 3 of the World of Warcraft guide for a Final Fantasy XIV style setup. As we saw in the last 2 videos, we got our targeting, our main bar, our expanded, which is left and right together, and we're able to loot. Everything is working accordingly. But in Final Fantasy XIV, we also have something called the double cross hotbar. Now, we unfortunately cannot do that in World of Warcraft, nor can we do it in ConsolePort, but we can do something similar. That being said, I do have a way of doing the double cross hotbar, and I will be showing it later. First up though, Bartender. And ConsolePort. Okay, so we're going to look at our hotbars, and we have 3, 4, 7, 8, 9, 10, and we're going to put it into this one and that one. So we can do, let's say, right side first. But the question is, do we want this style or that style? I like this style because it makes it, require less of MoveAnything, but this style over here does make it a bit easier if you decide to include extra buttons to move those independently. For example, if you were to put an L2 plus L3 somewhere in here, when you try to move it, it'll probably drag this one, so you need to first make sure this one is clicked off, so that way you can move this one and so on. It can get a bit tedious. So it's really up to you whether or not you're going to do extra mappings and if you're going to have them showing. But either way, with MoveAnything you can make pretty much anything, well, move. So it really doesn't matter all that much. So we're using the Alt modifier, which if you remember was L1. So this is L2. R2, L1, and then one of a button. Then we repeat it for L2, left, L1, and your modifier. And you should see that it shows up here on bar 3 and bar 4. Let's make sure they're nice next to each other, which they are. Lock them, and then use MoveAnything. Well, actually no. Let's put some actions in there. You can either drag them directly to Bartender, or you can drag them to ConsolePort. Use your MoveAnything key. On mine it was slash, but it might be different for you. And place them on top of each other so we get a nice pretty shape. Now let's place them where they need to be. This is R2, so it's going to be on the right side. And this is L2, so it's on the left side. And we need to add in our custom visibility. Make sure your fade out is 65%. And then copy and paste from the description what you need to put in. So I'm doing bar 3, custom condition, hit accept, then bar 4, 65%, custom condition, accept, log, and now let's do it. R2 with L1, L2 with L1. The beauty of this setup is that if you want to use the ConsolePort action bar as well, and just disable bar 1, 6, 5, which was the bars that were here, you still get to have your visibility for your L2 bar, your R2 bar, and your L2 and R2 bar if you use the full visibility toggle, and you still get to see your double tap simulator of L2 and L1. It still shows up here, but it won't show up on the side. At least for the time being. This is still being worked on when it comes to alt support. But this is a way to kind of do it half and half. You can have the first 3 bars using ConsolePort, and then these ones using Bartender for your visibility. So next up, well, what if we want to have an actual double tap? Not pressing L2 and L1 and R2 and L1, no. What if we want to press L2 twice to reach this and R2 twice to reach that? Well, it's actually pretty easy, but it will come at a cost. So right now, if you have, the controller with action buttons, specifically a PlayStation 4 controller or a Switch Pro controller, you could actually make use of these buttons right here. You could, for example, remap some of the things I have in options and move them to the PlayStation button. And then you could therefore put the options here in the center, and now you have an extra button you can use. Likewise, you could move some of the things from the center, put them to share, and then you could put a, button for that maybe here. And if you don't like some of my R1 mappings, you could put an R1 for the ones you're willing to use there. Like, you can create more buttons, but not if you're going to do the actual double tap I will be showing. Sort of. And there's a reason. In order to create our double tap, we're going to use Steam. So first, we need to figure out how to add Steam to World of Warcraft. The other way around, how to add World of Warcraft to Steam, but actually we're adding Battle.net. Now there's a website, the forums, of course, where we have directions and we're going to follow them. First it says to open the Battle.net application. Let me close World of Warcraft. It says click the Blizzard icon at the top left, okay. Settings. In the General tab, uncheck Launch Battle.net when you start your computer. Well, mine's already unchecked. That's weird, I thought I had reset it to defaults. But okay. Change the when I launch a game to exit Battle.net completely. And make sure that Show Brief Countdown is unchecked. Okay. Done. Exit. Open Steam. Okay, here's Steam. And then it says to click on the game menu and click on Add a non-Steam game to my library. It's in Games, Add a non-Steam game to my library. We're going to browse and pretend it's not there. And we're going to go to Program Files. In my case, x86 could be a different location for you. And click the battle.net. Not the launcher, just the regular battle.net. Okay. Add selected programs. And now we can see battle.net is added. It says to right click, go to properties, change your title. Okay. And add this. Now, when I did a test earlier, I did not see this work. It's supposed to actually open up World of Warcraft, but that's probably because I'm doing it in the wrong place. Target. Yeah, you want to do it in Target. Close. And now we've got World of Warcraft. We're going to open this in big picture mode. Library. Search library. And I found World of Warcraft. And as you can see, we have a controller configuration right here. It's cool. And play. It didn't actually load World of Warcraft, so I really don't get exactly what it's supposed to do, but let's load it in. As you can see, my controller still works. So how do we put in the double tap? Well, we're going to go back to Steam. Manage shortcut, configuration, and we're going to click on that left trigger. And click on where it says full pull action. Show activators. Add an activator. Make it double press. You may want to increase the double tap time. I know I did. I liked it around about double that. And then we're going to toggle multi-button. Make sure it's on, so it should say toggle off. And we're going to do the left side and our modifier. Then go to the right trigger. Same thing, full pull action, activators, double press, binding, right trigger. Oops, I forgot to toggle multi-button on. I think it's done right. Oh my, remove. Let's do this again. Multi-button on. Right trigger, left bumper. Likewise, if I go here, left trigger, left bumper. Let's go to the game. And let's try it. Right twice. Didn't work. I think it's just not taking it. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time for it to pass it through. As you can see, if I double tap, it works. If you're having issues, just keep messing with that double tap time and get it perfect. But why did I say that that would limit our buttons? Well, let's go back to Steam real quick. Now what you might notice is that now it's put select on share and start is here. This is because it's actually trying to essentially map it to a Xbox-like configuration. And so right now this here is being treated like select on one side and like start on the other side. So let's say I press the middle on the right side, it's start, but I press it on the left side and it's HUD. If you don't like that, which I know I don't, you can change it. In my case, I want it to always be select. But that also means your share button is now select, and so that's where the difficulty comes in. When you map it, you're mapping to this controller, and it doesn't have an actual button here, and that's why you kind of lose it. Now what you could do is you could map the share button to a keybind, and then you could create bindings on that, but essentially it's kind of lost, and that's why when I did the ConsolePort mappings, I ignored the share button. Likewise, you can see there is no PS button. This is a gyroscope, right? It's when you move your controller like side to side. There is no way to map that, and that's because Steam forces it to be the guide button, which is really annoying. So if you press it, it will open up the Steam guide. Supposedly you can disable that. I have yet to see it succeed, despite how many versions of the directions I've read, so I think it's something that used to be able to turn off, and at some point they made it so you couldn't, because it just does not work for me. So yeah, I'm ignoring those two buttons because if you decide to use a double tap, you're essentially losing them. You can only recover one of them if you map it to the keyboard, or I guess mouse, or something else that's accessible within here. So it's your choice. If you want the double tap to be an actual double tap, take the loss. Or if you're okay with doing it through L1, which you can still do when you have it, right? Because all it's doing is just pretending when you double tap that you're doing L2 and L1. You could, not have the double tap, but you get to have these extra buttons, which is fantastic. So it's very much a personal choice here. So essentially we have our Final Fantasy XIV set up. There is one more itty bitty tiny thing. What if you double tap and then you press the other side? So right now I've got R2 right on double tap, and then I press L2. Now in Final Fantasy XIV that will go to expanded, and here it's hidden. It actually still goes to it, but it's hidden because of the modifiers I have. Is you can just go to Bartender, go to your expanded, which I believe was number 5. Yes, it was. And you can simply change this one from a hide to a show. And now if you do an an R2, and you press L2, you can see your expanded, and you can try to use it. And so this is where you get to have another choice. See, if you look here, you can see that there's one more binding we can do, which is all of the modifiers together, L2, R2, and L1. For that though, you need another bar, right? So let's change this one back. Hide. let's do bar 10. Yes, let's bring it over, put it next to something, like maybe right here. But there's a problem. We're out of regular action bars. In the game, you have 1 to 6. Now, Bartender allows you to have extra ones. How do you map to those? Well, you go to the Bartender section right here, and you go down to 10, bar 10. And we're going to do the same thing. We're starting from 2, then 4, and then we're doing them one at a time. And we go to Bartender, and we also open up our Actions menu and put something in there. I like putting things that can be used without a target and that have cast time, because then it's clear that it's working. And then we can use MoveAnything. Make sure our fade out is 65. And then you have a choice. I love giving people choices. So first we're going to do a show and hide. So you don't need a fade for this. Custom condition, accept. And we can take this bar 10, put it here. And so, if I'm using Alt-U and R2 together, I see my regular expanded. And then if I use all 3 modifiers, I see this one. And that's the one that's activated. So that's one option. The other option, go back to bar 5. And actually we don't even need to mess with that. Just go to 10, turn into a fade and hide, move your bar 10 to the side, and now you've got it on the side, right? And I thought I told it to do fade and hide. I think I forgot to hit accept. Yes, I did. Or not. Cool. Why is it not showing? Oh. Typed it in wrong. Show and fade. So now if I do all of them, it lights up. Otherwise, it just stays on the side. And so that can be really good if you're using this as a non-battle bar for things that, you know, like mounts, teleports, whatever, and just an extra bar. I don't recommend it if you're using double tap. Essentially what it means, if you do a double tap and you do this, and you press L, right, because I'm on R, now it goes over there. And now the expanded, and that can be kind of weird for your mind because you are technically pressing the same thing as if you were doing, just left and right together. It just you started with a double. So instead, you would need to take your finger off and then do left and right to get back to it. And so that's why I'm saying if you're using double tap, you probably don't want this extra bar, and you may want to look into the next video Instead, if you still need to have more spots and you've run out and you don't want to use the utility ring, you should have plenty of space now, to be honest, but it's up to you.